Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Or let's do this. All right. Anyhow, let's have a big cheer to John Sykes. A little tribute to John Sykes there. Um, Unrehearsed as usual, but I think anybody who knows who he is and loved what he did is pretty sad this week. It was pretty shocking. Cheers to all my cold coffee people. It's particularly cold. Yes. Anyways, happy Sunday, guys, everybody. And I talk about the unsung heroes a lot here, and he's definitely one of them. John Sykes, if you did not know already, passed away this week. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, battling cancer. I talked about him on a post a little while ago about Eddie Trunk was talking about. I was listening to Eddie Trunk's show, which is great, by the way. And I was just listening to his show, and he and Sykes are good friends. And he was saying, I wonder why. I wish he would do more, is what his words were. And then the following week, he passes away. And Eddie did a nice tribute, which I have not watched the whole thing or listened to the whole thing yet, about John Sykes. But if you know who he is, I don't need to explain. But for those of you who do watch my show, I need to explain. John Sykes is a British guitar player. Got his start in a band called Tigers of Pantang, who I watched on the Power Hour. The only reason I knew who they were was because they had a video of a cover of Love Potion No. 9, and Tigers of Pantang were an okay band. There's another song called Gangland that's kind of okay, but songwriting wasn't all that great. Guitar playing was phenomenal. Like, there was like, who is this guy? And then we heard what's the song here? Anyways, Cold Sweat, Thin Lizzy's final album. They hired John Sykes from the Tigers of Pantang to play with him. That album, Thunder and Lightning by Thin Lizzy, has got just an incredible barrage of guitar playing on it. If you want to, everyone talks about Cold Sweat from that album. Listen to the title track, Thunder and Lightning, and John Sykes does the second solo, which is just mind-boggling. Then, of course, he joins Whitesnake for the Slide It In album. I heard from Eddie Trunk that Slide It In was finished, complete, and they hired John Sykes, and the record company people saw him play live, and they said, well, you got to re-record all the guitar parts, and we want that guy on the guitar parts. And so that's why you hear a bunch of different versions of like songs slided in. There's a few different solos on there. The one that you know the most, most well known, is John Sykes. And then there's a bunch of other things. There's that album's a mishmash of different versions and stuff like that. And then of course the controversial 1987 Whitesnake album, which was the breakthrough album for David Coverdale. Who just basically jumped on the hair metal bandwagon. Because Whitesnake, if you see them before Sykes joined, very bluesy kind of a thing. David Coverdale was, from Deep Purple was his claim to fame, and then Whitesnake was a huge band in the UK, more bluesy, and then Slide It In was a little heavier. John Sykes joined the band, and then of course the 1987 album, which was basically all John Sykes writing, songwriting, and collaborative with Coverdale, and arguably the best Whitesnake ever. That album was just huge. It was came out at the perfect time during all the hair metal craze, and if you've seen pictures of Whitesnake, the hair is pretty teased up. It's a sea of acid wash and Final Net is what it is. but here's the thing: Sykes, along with Ainsley Dunbar, Neil Murray, the longtime Whitesnake bass player, recorded the album, and then were subsequently fired, and basically Coverdale got a brand new gaggle of mostly, well, I'm gonna say there's a mismatch of a lot of nationalities in that band, wasn't there? Adrian Vandenberg, and then arguably, I can't. Was he German? I don't know. Adrian Vandenberg, I believe, was very German. And Vivian Campbell, from Irish guitar player, and then two Americans, Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo on bass and drums, and then Coverdale from England. And so it was a kind of an international band. But that was the touring band. They didn't play on the album. It was a huge draw. I remember they opened for the Motley Crue Girls, Girls, Girls tour, and I remember standing on Carlton Street with my buddies, and we didn't have tickets to the show. We were gonna buy scalps, and we wanted to see Whitesnake, so we went down there, and it was like 1988 by that point, I think, and the scalps were $150, and that was outrageous, unbelievably high, and we just said basically, no, we'll see you later. We hit the gasworks, so we didn't see Whitesnake open for Motley Crue, sadly, but $150 back then when tickets were $20 or $30, and that was a little high for us. So, anyways, so that tour was basically a Whitesnake tour. People went to see Motley Crue, but I think it was basically Whitesnake, and then I think they went through a few other changes. But let's get back to John Sykes here, who recorded that album, and basically was responsible for that huge success. I guess I'm hoping he made some royalty money off of Still of the Night. Still of the Night. I played the song, the incredible solo, which I tried to do okay with on Is This Love, and of course Here I Go Again, which John Sykes did not play the guitar solo. It was Adrian Vandenberg's guitar solo, which was strange because he wasn't in the band yet, but you'd have to ask Coverdale about that one. So back in, I'm going to say it was 1989, roughly, I joined a band called Max Cron. I auditioned for them. They were making an album in Toronto. I auditioned for them, got the gig, subsequently started rehearsing a whole pile of original stuff that was already written, that I just had to learn and put my own stamp on, basically, and all the guitar solos were mine. There was 3 other songs that were recorded before that I fixed up a bit, but and I met my lifelong friend and drummer Rodney DeFreitas, and another incredible bass player named Mike Bradelli. I can't never pronounce your last name, buddy. Who's playing with Greg Fraser right now? Andy, the singer. I'm not sure what happened to him, but Rodney, Mike, and myself are still out there playing, which is awesome. Cheers to you guys. I know you guys watch the show, and so we walked into Phase One Studios in Toronto, which I was blown away that I was getting to record at Phase One, because that was where so many albums that I loved, like Triumph's Progressions of Power, before Metalworks. Triumph recorded there. If you see the back of, here's my Triumph buddies. If you see the back of the first album, the original first album, that's the control room at Phase One. And I sat there in that couch, and it wasn't the same couch, obviously, and the room looked a little different with more technology and stuff like that. But I sat there saying, yeah, this was the Triumph's album. And I sat there in that couch going, yeah, and sat there for a bit, looking around. And it was actually pretty cool. We went in there and recorded an album, but when I walked in, the Whitesnake 1987 album, Gold album, was on the wall. And the guys who worked there were great. A guy named Darren, another guy named Bill Kennedy, who went on to, engineer on Metallica's Black album. I worked with him there, and I said, "Hey, the Whitesnake album, was that some of that done here?" They go, "Yeah, part of it was done here." And he goes, "Well, what was done here?" And Darren looks at me and says, "Guitars were done here." And I'm like, and we both lock eyes, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, let's hear the John Sykes stories. Come on, give them to me," right? And so John Sykes recorded all the guitar parts for that classic 1987 self-titled Whitesnake album at Phase One Studios in Toronto. So I'll give you. There was a lot of stories, but I'll give you a few that were just amazing. First of all, he walks in with an arsenal of guitars and amps, just a pile of stuff. Mostly played that black Les Paul and a few other Les Pauls, and I think there's some whammy bar stuff on there. They said he had a Charvel for some of the whammy bar dives and stuff like that. But he walked in with, at this point in time, Mesa Boogie was up to the Mark IIIs, and there was no Mark IV yet. And Sykes already had the Mark IVs at this session. He had a bunch of Marshalls and these Mesa Mark IVs, which no one had seen before. And the guys were like, "Wow, this is amazing." And then he said he was getting guitar sounds, and he was doing this. He was doing this. Sitting there in the control room, there's a pile of amps just going, and he's just doing that and going, "This doesn't sound right. Something's wrong. It doesn't sound right." Deep British accent, which I'm not going to try and do. And they took his Marshalls, shipped them back to Jose. If you guys know who Jose is, in Los Angeles, and they blocked the studio time. They didn't. Because they basically, if they'd have to move everything out and other bands would come in, but they blocked the time for about a week, which was mega bucks at Phase One, and waited for his amps to come back. So they came back, and they basically started recording the album. He triple tracked a lot of stuff, apparently. A lot of those solos were triple tracked, and those engineer guys I told you about were just blown away at the fact that he could duplicate all that stuff, just like Randy Rhoads did in that too. And he did all that, and just an incredible story. I lost my train of thought as usual, but yeah, just the stories about him getting his guitar sounds and just watching him play were just apparently incredibly incredible. There was a few other stories that were kind of looked at a little bit of his not so great side, which I'm not going to tell because he's my hero, so I'm not going to tell those ones. If I ever see you, I'll tell you those stories. But yeah, and 20 tracks of guitar. 20 tracks of guitar they had at Phase One to record that album. If you know the album, you'll hear it and you'll know there's 20 tracks. But anyways, those are some of my John Sykes stories. There were more. There were lots more. There were lots more because they just had, those guys were just in their glory watching him play and just blown away. Him passing away at 65 is really sad. The fact that he didn't really do a lot in the last, I'm going to say 10 years is really sad too. He, after Whitesnake, he started his own band with Carmine Apiece and Tony Franklin called Blue Murder. Now, Blue Murder is an incredible album, and what's more incredible about that album is John Sykes singing. He sang all lead on that album. If you watch some videos, I posted Valley of the Kings, I think, this week, and Jelly Roll, another one, great song, phenomenal album. If you got a chance to see Blue Murder, I never did. I was playing that night that they played at Rock and Roll Heaven. I don't know where I was, but yeah, and his vocals, arguably, like my friend Terry Baker said, in Florida, he might have been better than Coverdale as a vocalist. And you listen to Blue Murder. You might, I could be right on that. Anyhow, here's to John Sykes. Sad that he's gone. Master of the Les Paul. I'm sorry I don't have a black one with the mirror pickguard or anything like that. But yeah, he did have a few sunbursts, though, if you look at his guitar collection. Yeah, a really sad day. Our heroes are dying. But he was an unsung hero because just a ferocious, fire-breathing sound, and just, if you watch some of the videos that have been posted by tributes and everything for people, incredible. But anyways, cheers, guys. It's rehearsal time for me, getting ready for Keep the Faith, and some gigs are kind of on hold for, well, there's not really anything booked until my February 7th show at the Sanderson Center with the boys. Please come out and see an incredible band. I'm not just saying that because I'm in the band. Those guys are much more incredible just watch stuff. Just watch the past stuff. Anyways. Long video, cold coffee, and everybody who did tribute and was sad about John Sykes, my condolences to all you and his family and friends, and he's upstairs with Lynott now, again making music, which makes me feel real good about that. And anyhow, happy Sunday. Rest in peace, John Sykes, and have a great one, guys. Take it easy. Bye-bye.